TaxAct can think of a million things more fun than filing taxes. TaxAct is going to name some now. Sitting in traffic. Folding a fitted bedsheet. Listening to your coworker talk about his fantasy team. Digging a hole. Digging an even larger hole next to that original hole. Unfortunately, TaxAct's filing software can't make taxes fun. But TaxAct can help you get them done. TaxAct. Let's get them over with.
Good morning. This is Mike Stoller for the Stoller Real Estate Report. What's happening in the borough of Queens? You hear of Flushing. You hear of Hallett's Points. You hear of Long Island City. You hear about a new casino. All this is happening in Queens. So I have the Queens born and bred Tom Donovan, who is the president of the Queens Investment Sales Division of Meridian Capital Group. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Michael.
So you've been in Queens your entire life?
Born and raised.
So what are you seeing happening today in Queens?
There's a lot of good gentrification going on throughout the entire borough. Even neighborhoods that at one time had been not as desirable, the South Jamaica and such, they had a big resurgence. Particularly the industrial neighborhoods really cleaned up.
What do you attribute this to?
Well, with the industrial properties, they're not making any more of it. They changed the stock when they changed in 2008 when they changed the zoning. They lost about 2/3 of the industrial stock, so the pricing went astronomically high. It used to be the $8 and $12 a foot rents and $80 to $120 a foot sales. Now they're trading on average about $400 a foot, with some sales going as high as $600 a foot, with $30 and $40 a foot rents because there's not enough space to be had.
That's on the industrial side.
On the industrial side.
Okay. What about on the retail side?
Retail has always been, Main Avenue, particularly corners, transportation. If you have a good corner with good retail, good repositioning, maybe some future upside where it could be a development site, those properties are really, really, really desirable. I did a little study for this, and retail redevelopments and industrial properties had the highest price per square foot and the most number of sales and dollar value in 2025. And considering they're two of the smaller asset classes, that's astronomical because multifamily and mixed use make up 75% of the stock, and collectively they were the lesser two sales, both the number of sales and dollar volume.
Now, who's developing these properties?
Old school families, new buyers in. Some of the REITs. There's people changing what their outlook was of what they're buying and doing, because the multifamily people are a little scared of what's going on within the multifamily market, both with regulation and political views. So they're looking at different asset type classes because they have to keep their staff working, they have to keep their families occupied, and the management companies going. So people who typically weren't developers or weren't retail players or industrial players actually came into those sectors.
Okay, with regard to that, have we seen private equity go into those markets?
Yes, the private equity is partnering up with a local operator, and they're putting a lot of the capital in. A lot in Long Island City. There's a bifurcated market because there's some people that are using, the friends and family money, and then there's some that are using strictly the third party, expensive money, bigger money. Excuse me.
So you're talking about the private equity.
Private equity.
And what are they charging for financing?
I'm not really sure exactly. I think it's on a case by case basis, but I would say probably in the 10% range.
Okay. With regard to players, are there new players from around the world? Where are the players coming from?
Like I said, it's bifurcated. So there's the old school REITs, but then there's the Asian community have been really, really active, not only in the Flushing market, but Long Island City, Woodside, and Sunnyside. All in Regal Park and Forest Hills, the Baharian community, they've been super active. I think they've built about 4 million square feet. Fantastic projects all up and down Queens Boulevard. Then there's, our friends from Great Neck, the Persians, have been really active as well. So there's no specific buyer type for a specific market.
Okay. With regard to neighborhoods, where are the opportunities in Queens today?
I think people are looking right now that they are saying that Corona's an opportunistic buy. It's in between Elmhurst, Astoria, and Flushing, along the 7 train, which has really gotten better, And with the casino coming, I think that's people saying that's going to be a denser market. It's still relatively underserved. As I mentioned earlier, the South Jamaica market has really gotten far better all along the avenues. There's credit-worthy tenants coming in, better retail plays coming in. The industrial plays near Kennedy Airport have really helped it as well.
What about the casino? What's your thoughts of the effect now of Cone getting the opportunity at Citi Field?
Well, I think once it opens, I remember someone saying when Amazon was coming to Long Island City, for every person that comes, 7 people get touched. So if that's going to bring an exponential number of people per day, it's going to help with stores, restaurants, bars, nightclubs. People coming here not just to spend money at the casino, but services that go around it.
Okay, with regard to opportunities in Sunnyside, because with regard to the possible link over there, into the city so close by, and they could possibly build 12,000 units.
I mean, I'm very, very bullish on Woodside and Sunnyside. I think it's less than 10 minutes to Midtown Manhattan. It's near every major highway. You can get to the airport, to LaGuardia Airport, in about 10 or 15 minutes without traffic. I think it's gotten a lot of publicity as being one of the cleaner, nicer neighborhoods. So I'm very, very bullish on those neighborhoods.
What about Hallett's Point?
Again, I think it's been hyped up. I don't know if it's ever fully reached where it's supposed to, but again, very, very bullish on it.
What about industrial and other development sites in Queens?
Again, the reason industrial is selling for so high is that we're not really making any more of it. The sites that a lot of the rezonings took away the big sites. So when something comes on the market, it's really trading for a higher price. People are building condos for $1,200 a foot. So even if you have a warehouse building that's selling for $500, you could build a multifamily for that's going to sell for $1,100. The economics work just far better.
Is that the price right now in Queens?
They're getting in the Long Island City good neighborhoods with the amenity buildings. Correct. Yes. Flushing, they're getting $1,200 a foot. Correct.
What about Regal Park?
A little bit lesser, but they're still getting great numbers. They're also renting in Regal Park, and they're getting like $65, $70 a foot, which is very, very strong numbers. Regal Park really had a resurgence the last couple of years because the other neighbors were expensive. I'm very, very bullish on Regal Park.
Okay, with regard to Regal Park retail, I think it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, like I said, there's been 4 million square feet between Regal Park and Forest Hills of new developments that came in. There's been a few thousand new families that came in, so the retail rents have gone higher. We had the opportunity to sell 9 corners in Regal Park last year, and we had a bidding war on it for a market where there hasn't really been bidding wars around. We got almost $800 per square foot, and if you base it on a straight cap rate, it was less than sub 5%.
With regard to, you grew up in Queens. Where in Queens?
I grew up in Ozone Park, Queens, Pitkin Avenue.
Okay, and what's happening in the Pitkin Avenue section of Queens today?
Well, it's really a residential area down there, so not really that much. It's 1 and 2 family homes mostly. Cross Bay Boulevard has seen a resurgence up and down in Howard Beach and Ozone Park. New developments going on, some replays. There was some swaths of land that were city-owned that became available, so they put a couple of small shopping centers and re-tenanted it. So it actually became a little bit of a destination for surrounding neighborhoods.
Who's moving into these apartments, into the condominiums and the rentals? What's the average age? Or
in Regal Park?
In Regal Park and in Queens?
A lot of Asian, a lot of people that typically would go into Flushing have been bullish on Long Island City and Regal Park. The Baharian community, the Russian Jews from Uzbekistan, they're based there, so that is a starting place for them before their families grow. People downsizing their homes where they would live in Long Island, they raise their family. They don't necessarily want to be in Manhattan, but they want to have access to it. So it's an array.
Okay, so it seems that, how do you look at 2026 for investment sales in Queens?
I think as long as interest rates remain where they are or go lower, I'm very, very optimistic. I think the residential market, I don't think can't go any lower. So I think there's going to be some play where hopefully that some people can say I'm going to see this as a buying opportunity on the low price per pound. $100,000 a unit. $100 per square foot, $150 per square foot. People say they can't go much lower than that. So I think that's going to be an opportunity.
What about Astoria? Again,
Astoria is one of the most desirable neighborhoods. It's a place where young professionals want to live. Like I said, when they're starting, out of college, when they, it's easy to get to Manhattan. The price point is cheaper than the city. The restaurants are cheaper than the city. But a vibrant nightlife, vibrant places to go, social. There's bars, restaurants, nightclubs.
So my friend Tom Donovan really is bullish on Queens, and that's why he's the head of investment sales for Meridian Capital Group in Queens. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Michael.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.